Caitlin Clark outplaying in the Pro-Am at the RSM Classic.
Certainly the biggest sports stars in the world seem to want to spend a lot of time.
What if becoming the most famous athlete in your sport wasn't a blessing, but a carefully laid trap? What if your celebrated arrival meant to be a crowning moment of triumph, instead ignited a firestorm of jealousy, controversy, and a bitter division that threatened to burn down the very league you were supposed to save? This is the shocking untold story of how Caitlin Clark's unprecedented fame is both the WNBA's greatest asset and the catalyst for an internal war that is tearing it apart.
It happens when you have a transformative athlete like Caitlin come out to another sport. She crosses over to a new sport and she brings that stardom and those fans over.
Her journey to the professional stage was the stuff of legends, a narrative so dominant it felt scripted. In college, she wasn't just a player, she was a cultural phenomenon. She didn't just break scoring records, she obliterated them, surpassing legends for both men and women. This wave of excitement created what the world dubbed the Caitlin Clark effect. Arenas sold out months in advance, millions of new fans tuning in, and viewership numbers that shattered every previous benchmark for women's basketball. She was a walking, talking revolution, and the world couldn't get enough.
Her presence alone is all that matters. Her love for the game is all that matters. I think probably the only person that is worried about how she plays is, I would imagine, Caitlin herself.
The 2024 WNBA draft was presented as her coronation. When she was picked number 1 by the Indiana Fever, it was treated like a royal ascension. The league's long-awaited savior had finally arrived, and the expectation was that she would single-handedly lift the sport into a new stratosphere of popularity and profitability. But what was truly waiting for her wasn't a red carpet, but a brutal battlefield, and she was unknowingly cast as the primary target.
She took the LPGA by storm, and today, the WNBA superstar surprised the PGA Tour and played the back nine at the RSM Classic.
The beautiful illusion of a smooth and celebrated transition was violently shattered in a game against the Chicago Sky. In a single moment that would be replayed millions of times and ignite a national debate, player Chenny D. Carter delivered a vicious blindside hip check to Clark while she was waiting for an inbound pass. Far from the action, this wasn't just a hard foul in the heat of a game, it was a stunningly aggressive and unprovoked act that felt deeply personal, exposing a dark and resentful undercurrent that had been festering just beneath the league's surface.
It was awesome. Caitlin loves the sport, loves the difficulty. You can tell she's a competitor. She likes to tackle hard things. It's just
Once that shocking moment went viral, everyone began watching her games with a different, more critical eye. Suddenly, a disturbing and undeniable pattern began to emerge. It wasn't just one player or one incident. Her longtime college rival, Angel Reese, was seen striking her in the head on a play that officials later upgraded to a flagrant foul. Opponents were consistently overly physical, giving her hard shoves after the whistle and whispering things in her ear that cameras couldn't catch. It became painfully clear this wasn't just welcome to the league hazing. It was a relentless, targeted physical campaign against the WNBA's biggest star.
There were so many both male and female who have watched a lot of WNBA basketball this year because of Caitlin Clark. And now it seems like whatever she does, whether it's in fashion, whether it's in the arts, and now whether it's in sports here, they seem to follow her. And anything that she touches makes it a little bit better. And obviously she's doing that with golf, right?
But what was driving this hostility? Why would professional athletes risk their reputations to target a rookie? Whispers from inside the league and anonymous sources began to paint a grim picture of deep-seated resentment. Veterans who had fought for years in relative obscurity for better pay, charter flights, and a fraction of the media's attention were reportedly furious. They watched as Clark, a 22-year-old rookie, instantly received more coverage, bigger endorsement deals, and widespread credit for saving a league they had poured their blood, sweat, and tears into for years. To them, it felt like an insult.
I know that you work really hard in the off-season. You said yesterday you're always trying to get better. What's the thing that you're working on in this off-season?
I think, honestly, besides the actual basketball skill part of it, I think getting stronger, that's what I'm focusing on. I'm in the weight room a lot, just building that strength. Obviously, it was hard going right from the college season to the professional season. You know, we spend a lot of time in the weight room, so.
The most potent symbol of this simmering tension is her rivalry with Angel Reese. A battle that began with a taunting gesture in a college championship game has been rekindled in the pros, amplified by a media machine hungry for drama. Reese, with her unapologetic Chi-Town Barbie persona, presents a stark contrast to Clark's more reserved, Midwestern image. Their on-court clashes are now framed as more than just competition. They're portrayed as a clash of personalities, styles, and cultures, a narrative that both players have been forced to navigate under a microscope. Every hard foul, every stare down is dissected as another chapter in a saga that has captivated millions.
I love that she has a love for the game of golf. Yeah, maybe I'll ask Caitlin for some advice, some tips. Next time we'll get together, maybe it'll be on a basketball court.
This tension quickly spiraled into something much larger and more toxic. Clark, often without her consent, was pulled into a bitter and exhausting culture war. Pundits, politicians, and commentators began using her as a symbol in heated debates about race, privilege, and respect in sports. She was either a victim of unfair aggression or an overhyped product of privilege, depending on the agenda being pushed. An impossible burden was placed on her shoulders, forcing her to represent ideas and movements she never asked to be a part of.
Yeah. You got that. There you go.
180 yards isn't fair.
This phenomenon intensified as her name was weaponized by people who had likely never watched a single WNBA game before her arrival. Political figures used the fouls against her to score points about societal decay, while media personalities used her Olympic snub to fuel their narratives of institutional corruption. Her name became a keyword, a tool for outrage farming. She was trapped in an impossible position where staying silent was seen as complicity, but speaking out would inevitably alienate one side or the other, further fanning the flames of a fire she never started.
I think right here today, considering all of the social media, all of the outlets for attention, Caitlin Clark by far today is the most sought after popular star.
Just when the drama seemed to have reached its absolute peak, the ultimate shockwave hit the sports world. Caitlin Clark, the most famous female basketball player on the planet, was officially left off the U.S. Olympic basketball team roster for the Paris Games. The one person who was guaranteed to bring millions of new eyes to the sport on a global stage, the superstar who was selling out arenas across the country, was inexplicably told to stay home. The decision was not just surprising, it was utterly baffling to the public.
Participating in this LPGA Pro-Am is just going to bring so many more eyes because everything she does brings eyes, especially to a basketball court, but even when she makes an appearance courtside.
The official explanation provided by the selection committee was that she lacked experience with the senior national team and that they prioritized players with a longer history in the program. But the public wasn't buying it for a second. The decision was met with immediate and fierce backlash, with accusations flying that this was a calculated move by a committee of insiders. Many believed it was driven by a mix of veteran player politics and a desire to send a message that her immense popularity wouldn't allow her to simply leapfrog the established order.
Well, first of all, we're thankful that she's here. Kind of the one, and when you talk about women's sports, she's kind of, other than Nelly, it's been Caitlin.
The Olympic snub quickly became a national firestorm. It dominated sports talk shows, morning news programs, and social media for weeks, with everyone from casual fans to seasoned analysts debating the decision. It was more than a sports story, it was a cultural flashpoint. The controversy exposed a massive and growing disconnect between the insulated sports establishment and the millions of new fans who saw Clark not just as a great player, but as an inspiration who had more than earned her spot through sheer talent and impact.
So there comes the female GOAT, and these women are going from having 3,000 people in their arenas to 20,000.
Through it all, the cheap shots on the court, the cultural battles, and the crushing Olympic disappointment, Caitlin's public response has been remarkably composed and professional. When asked about the hard fouls or the snub, she consistently deflects, repeating that her only focus is on basketball and helping her team win. But behind that carefully constructed wall of media-trained composure, the immense pressure was clearly mounting, and signs of the strain were beginning to show.
And those fans many of the fans who were walking with her today aren't necessarily golf fans. They're either Caitlin fans or WNBA fans, and it's kind of their first exposure to the game. So a lot like last week, it was a really good step for golf and obviously for Caitlin and her fans.
What many fans fail to realize is the brutal physical toll this journey has taken on her. She had no off-season, no time to rest and recover. She went directly from the intense pressure and physical grind of the NCAA championship run straight into the WNBA's preseason training camp. She is playing against stronger, faster, and more physical women every night, all while running on fumes. The exhaustion is not just a footnote to her story, it's a central character impacting her performance and her ability to withstand the nightly onslaught.
Golf media is pumped about Caitlin Clark, as they should be. So many more new fans are going to be tuning in to golf who never would have otherwise.
This puts her head coach, Christy Sides, in an almost impossible position. How do you protect your franchise player from being physically targeted without appearing to complain to the referees constantly? How do you call out the league's officiating while still trying to build a winning culture within your own young team? Sides has faced criticism from fans for not being more vocal in Clark's defense, but she is walking a tightrope, trying to empower her star player while also managing the fragile ecosystem of a professional locker room.
I'm excited. I think, obviously our goal of reaching the playoffs last year we accomplished, but now, we want to be a championship contender. I think we're putting in the pieces to be able to do that, hopefully add some free agents, and you can just feel the excitement in the whole organization and in the city, our fans. So honestly, I can't wait to get back out there. I wish we had a game tomorrow.
And that locker room itself is a massive question mark. How are her own teammates, especially last year's #1 pick, Aaliyah Boston, handling this circus? On one hand, they benefit from the chartered flights and sold-out crowds. On the other, they are now secondary characters in their own team's story. Every interview is about Caitlin. Every highlight is of Caitlin. Navigating that delicate power dynamic and fostering genuine chemistry amidst an unprecedented media storm is one of the team's greatest hidden challenges.
Caitlin Clark is just such a class act. She was incredible, breaking all types of records, and that's something she was certainly proud of. We saw lots of smiles on the court.
Caitlin is the face right now, and that's also good. Like, she's selling out gyms, of course. Like, why would you hate against that?
But perhaps the most shocking number associated with Caitlin Clark isn't a point total or a viewership record, but her salary for carrying the weight of an entire league on her shoulders. Her rookie contract paid her just over $76,000 for the season. The figure was so stunningly low, it went viral and sparked a national conversation that even drew a comment from the President of the United States. It became the ultimate exhibit of the massive pay gap that persists in professional sports.
Caitlin Clark has been the best thing, the most dominant thing. Remember, there's been good players come out of college, but nobody really cared. We'd seen it. Nobody really cared.
That meager league salary stands in jaw-dropping contrast to her off-court earnings. With massive multi-million-dollar endorsement deals with global giants like Nike, Gatorade, Wilson, and State Farm, she is a marketing empire unto herself. The reality is that she makes more money selling sports drinks and insurance in a single commercial than she does for an entire season of playing the sport she is actively revolutionizing. This disparity only adds to the complexity and resentment surrounding her.
Yeah, well, I'm just obviously really thankful for Gainbridge and everything that they do, not only in women's sports, but just sports in general. It's tremendous, and I feel very lucky to be a partner of theirs, and sports unites people, and that's kind of what this feels like too. It's just bringing people together where they can find joy in something.
Every single night, she steps onto the court carrying an impossibly heavy weight. She's expected to score 30 points, sell out every arena she enters, grow the game for future generations, be a perfect role model, and navigate a media minefield where her every word and action is scrutinized. This is a level of pressure that would break most seasoned veterans, let alone a 22-year-old rookie in her first few months as a professional athlete.
What Caitlin Clark does is kind of simple, really. She shows up at games, she signs autographs, she talks to little girls wearing jerseys, she smiles to the crowd, and then here's the most important thing. She competes like a maniac. I mean, like a maniac.
And sometimes the cracks in the armor do appear. Her frustration has been visible and has manifested in her league-leading number of technical fouls. These aren't just moments of uncontrolled anger, they are the very human reactions of a young woman being relentlessly and physically targeted, mentally tested, and pushed to her absolute limit in front of the entire world. It's a cry for fairness in a game that has suddenly felt anything but fair.
I don't really care what happens. It doesn't really matter. I don't play golf for a living, and just have fun with it. Like, this isn't, super serious. Enjoy the experience. Because there were so many people that would, kill to be in my position or be in my shoes or, the people that are following outside the ropes would love to have one opportunity to, hit a ball in the first tee or something like that. So just remind yourself how cool this experience is and don't let it pass you by. But I think that's, anything I do in life, like having these sort of experiences or whatever I get to do and the opportunities that I have, like soak it in, because a lot of people would trade and want to have these opportunities as well.
Yet despite all the noise, the negativity, and the controversy, her impact is undeniable and historic. The Indiana Fever are leading the league in attendance, both at home and on the road, with teams moving their games against the Fever to larger NBA arenas just to accommodate the demand. WNBA viewership is up over 100% on some networks, and in a landmark move for players' rights and safety, the league finally agreed to fund charter flights for all teams, a long overdue change that many directly attribute to the Caitlin Clark effect.
I think a lot of things that me and Annika said is we share a lot of the same values, and I think that's really cool, being driven, but so do they at the same time. Like, obviously we're, professional athletes or played sport or whatever it was, but at the same time in their lives, it all relates. And I think people at times forget that. We're real humans too, and we're driven by the same things that they.
Her star power has now officially transcended the world of sports. Her surprisingly successful and charming hosting gig on the legendary show Saturday Night Live proves she is not just an athlete, but a genuine cultural icon. She's doing for the WNBA what Tiger Woods did for golf and what the Williams sisters did for tennis, making it must-see television for everyone, from hardcore fans to people who had never watched a game in their lives.
And it's so much different than basketball. That's why I love it. It's, individual, it's a challenge, especially mentally. Like, that's what's so beautiful about golf. And I think being outside, I love that. That's the one bad thing about being in the WNBA now. It's in the spring and the summer, part of the fall. I really miss a lot of opportunity to play golf.
Of course, a counter-narrative has also begun to gain traction. Some analysts and former players argue that the media is concocting a damsel in distress story, claiming the hard fouls against her are just typical WNBA physicality and standard rookie treatment. They argue that by focusing so intensely on the drama, the media is disrespecting the immense talent of the other players in the league and undermining the toughness that has long been its hallmark. However, for every critic suggesting she needs to toughen up, there's a legend stepping up to defend her. NBA icons like LeBron James and Charles Barkley, along with WNBA pioneers who built the league, have publicly called for the game's officials and the league itself to do more to protect its brightest star. They recognize that what she is facing is not normal, and that the health and future growth of the WNBA may very well depend on her survival. So what will Caitlin Clark's legacy ultimately be? Will she be remembered as the revolutionary talent who single-handedly shattered ceilings and lifted women's basketball into the mainstream consciousness? Or will her career be defined by the bitter controversy, the physical targeting, and the deep-seated jealousy that met her at the very top? The world is watching every move because this is no longer just a game, it's a high-stakes battle for the soul and the future of a sport.